general. Today, we are so glad to have Reverend Misha Sanders with us. Reverend Misha is a community minister and chaplain in the Metro Atlanta. She is co-affiliated with the Unitarian Universalist Association and the Fellowship of Affirming Ministries. She is a fiery preacher of the good news of universal love and believes that the whole world is built and rebuilt by the stories we tell ourselves and each other. We're so glad you're here today in this community where we strive to be loving, inclusive, and compassionate. If you're a newcomer, welcome. We're so glad you're here. And we hope you can connect with this community. And one way to do that would be to stay after the service for a few minutes and chat with us. Let us know who you are. If you're joining online, please fill out the newcomer card online. If you're a member of this congregation, we encourage you to wear your name tags, because that way we feel more connected and the newcomers get to know us more easily. We love having people of all ages in this community. As you came in, we hope that you saw the basket of activities for hands that like to stay busy. This is for all of you of any age. We welcome all of the wiggles and sound of a multi-generational community. If you haven't already, please put your phones on worship mode. We're so glad each and every one of you are here. Welcome.
Our opening reflection today is by my colleague, the Reverend Dr. Megan Foley. What is this thing known as a calling anyway? What is a call, really? Is it a way of matching your skills to the job market? Can you find it in an employment guide? Is it a multiple choice test that tells you what type you are and where you'll find others just like you from 9 to 5, Monday through Friday? Is that where you find your calling? Is a calling a feeling of joy, of completeness in your work? Is it what Karl Marx thought we lacked when he said we were alienated from our labor? Is a calling a way of saying, this is part of me, this thing that I've created, this thing you see here, it's a way of seeing me? Is a calling straight from a cherubim or seraphim? Is it burnt lips and angels singing? Is it a direct command and expected obedience? Is it a voice in the night, a whisper through the dark, so compelling that you eventually find yourself saying, here I am, send me? Or is your calling the work of 1,000 arrows of your life, the arrows that point you to your hometown and your family, the ones that point to your education and that weird summer job, the ones that point to your greatest weakness and your greatest strength, the one that points to the darkest moments of your life, the one that points to your most profound joy? All these arrows of yours coming together in a way you never thought possible. Coming together to point to a path you never saw before, a path suddenly flooded with light, a path suddenly garlanded with your name.
Please join us in singing from the Gray hymnal, number 67, we sing now together. Again, that is Gray Hymnal, number 67. Yeah, we sing now together, and we will sing verses 1 and 4.
So, spoiler alert, or long story short, depending on whether you're sticking around or if you have to leave early, Esther became the unlikely queen. Her people were saved from certain death, and they all lived happily ever after. The end. But now it was never guaranteed to go down like that. Not only was there no guarantee, but it was a highly unlikely outcome to a highly unlikely story. You see, the Persian king, Ahasuerus, had just had his queen banished. We don't know exactly what that meant, where she was sent away to, whether or not that was just a relatively mess-free euphemism for something much more permanent. We only know that he had ordered her gone, and so gone she was. And from the information that we are given, the only infraction, her only infraction, had been that she had finally had enough of being his trophy wife, his favorite sex slave, and had had the audacity to say, nope, not tonight. When, toward the end of a 7-day-long drunken party, the all sheets to the wind king had ordered servants to go fetch her to entertain his lascivious and equally inebriated guests. Now, this week-long party was at the end of a 180-day visit from all of the political elite of the land. And the many, many women of the king's harem were tired. And it is left to our imaginations as to why. So, she's banished, and with Queen Vashti gone, the king suddenly has a prime opening in his harem. And so, because absolute power corrupts absolutely, he listened to a lot of advisors, and they came up with a plan to gather young women and girls from all over the kingdom and to add them to his cloistered and very much enslaved harem of women and girls. It seems that a posse of men literally went out into the streets of all the provinces of the kingdom and just started collecting as many pretty girls as they could find, asking them no questions about the lives and the families and the friends they were being forced to leave behind without notice, just taking them if they were deemed attractive enough and young enough. And among these young women and girls picked up in this gathering of female human property was a young Jewish woman named Esther, already enslaved. Her people had been brought to this land in chains already. Her parents had long been dead, and she was being raised by her cousin Mordecai, also enslaved. So oppression upon oppression. This young enslaved woman is taken from her home, from the only family that she has left, and shoved roughly with countless other bewildered and despairing young women and girls into the courts of the king to be groomed for a different kind of slavery. And it just so happens that Esther's physical appearance allows her to pass for Persian if she chooses. Out of terror, no doubt, Esther says nothing of her Jewish heritage and goes with the flow and tries simply to survive. As on the outside of the palace walls, having traveled from his home to be as close to Esther as possible because he had made a vow to always take care of her, cousin Mordecai sits in mourning in the traditional sackcloth and ashes. An entire year passes this way. Outside the walls during this year, the world for the enslaved Jews is falling apart because their captivity, which for years had been seen by the Persians as being good for the kingdom, had started to turn a little sour, and Persians in power were beginning to blame the Jewish people for all that was wrong in their world, as though the oppressed could ever have that kind of power. But for reasons really unspecified other than pride and anger about personal grievances. I do dislike how familiar and current that feels, don't you? Men in positions of power were calling for the death of all of the oppressed enslaved class, in this case, the Jews. Meanwhile, cousin Mordecai has come to sit outside of the palace wall every day to be as close to his beloved Esther as he can be. He has lived in sackcloth and ashes, and he's gotten on the very last nerve of some of the powerful people who were tired of him being a constant wailing eyesore in their nice, clean, fancy Capitol Boulevard. Inside the palace walls, in harem living quarters, Esther had had a quite eventful year. She had become the unlikely favorite of the king, and he had chosen her to be his new queen. And Esther, because she was pretty interested in not being hanged for being a Jew, they were literally building gallows all over the nation for the express purpose of killing the entire race of people. She kept quiet about who she was and kept on passing for Persian, as Mordecai kept his vigil outside the wall. Now, he kept sending her messages as often as he could that he loved her, and he was working without ceasing to secure her safety. And he sent these messages via a cadre of eunuchs who served inside the palace, but came and went with a little more freedom than the women. Here's the interesting thing about these eunuchs. They were an entire class of enslaved men, given more freedom than the enslaved women, but not by much. They were men who mostly had been forced into genital mutilation before puberty, rendering them feminized, sterile, more docile, less physically strong than most other men, and more easily controlled, ostensibly. They not only served as sex slaves on occasion themselves, but were in charge of taking care of the harem. They were essentially a created third gender, a very visible gender queer population of their day. And some accounts indicate that one of the many reasons for their forced gender blurring surgeries was to make it so they were shunned by family that they did have, unable to create more, thereby easier to get rid of with no one left to ask questions if they caused any trouble. Now, let me be clear that although the parallels are worth drawing, I am not with any part of my soul suggesting that our genderqueer and trans beloveds have been forced into anything for nefarious purposes where their healthcare is concerned, because as we know, the opposite of allowing them to be who they are is much more likely to happen in our political climate. That is an aside worth noting and making central, because you are valid no matter where you fall in the glorious non-binary gender spectrum, and you are whole and holy just the way you are. I hope we are clear on that part, beloveds. Good. Back to the story then. And so it was these eunuchs These precious, beloved, feminized, genderqueer men who, I am not kidding, were put in charge of the cosmetology program of the harem. They took care of the skincare, the wardrobe, and the hair and makeup needs of the women. They did not teach me that part of the story in Pentecostal Sunday school, I guarantee you. And so this is how the messages were passed between the enslaved Jews and the enslaved women via the enslaved genderqueer men. And Mordecai's delivered message to Esther was exactly this from the book of Esther, chapter 4, beginning in verse 13. Do not think that in the king's palace you will escape any more than all of the other Jews. For if you keep silence at such a time as this, relief and deliverance will rise for the Jews from another quarter. But you and your family, so your father's family, will perish. Who knows? Perhaps you have been brought into the kingdom for just such a time as this. Who knows? I love it that Mordecai never once mentioned a calling from God. In fact, Esther is the most humanist book in Jewish and Christian scripture with not a single mention of God in the entire thing. None whatsoever. Whole book. And so if Mordecai was a God-fearing Jew and not Jewish by ethnicity only, he might not have been on speaking terms with the Lord right about then. Elohim had not seemed to be doing much for his people lately. And so Mordecai told his beloved Esther, here's the thing, my dear, dear Esther, who knows? We have no idea if this will work. But we sure as heck know that keeping silent isn't going to get us anywhere good. And maybe, there's at least a chance, right? Maybe you can do something to help yourself and save your people if you use the gifts you have been given in this horrible place you did not choose. And speak up. Esther didn't choose to be queen. That was a fancy title for a sex slave. Esther didn't choose to be the king's favorite because heaven only knows what becoming the favorite of a man like that even entailed for Esther. She didn't ask for any of this. And she had no obligation whatsoever to put her neck on the line and ask the king for any favors. She knew from Queen Vashti's example right before her what could happen to anyone, even the queen, if you caught the king in a foul mood. And no one voluntarily went before the king to take that risk. But who knows, Esther? And at this point, what have you got to lose? And so after receiving her beloved cousin Mordecai's messages, Esther deeply considered her options, which weren't very many, shrugged and said, if I perish, I perish, but I'll do it. I'll go talk to the king. And that's what she did. She used the only power that women had to use, her beauty and her body. And she made sure the king wanted to keep her coming back again and again until one night she finally mustered up all her courage to say to him, listen, these people you're leaning toward calling for the genocide of, they're my people. They are me. If my people are killed, I will be killed with them because I am a Jew. So, sweetheart, I know you're very busy, but do you think maybe as a favor to your wife, you might just consider calling the whole thing off? And I know that all of our hearts are with Palestinians to whom this horror is happening right now, and the nuance and the cognitive dissonance and the divisions among nations and cultures and families about who sides with whom in light of all the history we know, it is hard to bear. That is also worth acknowledging here today. But what happened in the story of Esther is that when she asked the king for a ceasefire, he listened. He did it. And the story goes on quite interestingly and karmically appropriate from there. And because of Esther's courage, her people were spared genocide that time around. But man, that could have gone a whole lot of ways, couldn't it? There was a power grab, a political upheaval happening, and a powder keg of oppression happening right inside the king's palace as well as throughout the whole land. There were queer slaves and female slaves, both categorically denied reproductive choices, by the way, and slaves being persecuted for their religion, their ethnicity, and their culture all at once. And there were intersections of people who fell into more than one of these categories, and no one had a guarantee of any kind of positive outcome. But they all knew that somebody had to do something. They were dying. Their loved ones were literally being disappeared. And nobody could have made a difference without the support of one another. I wonder, beloveds, where we fit into the powder keg of oppression happening right inside our beautiful palaces. I wonder about our own intersections of privilege and oppression that bind us together and keep us apart. I wonder about the transgender children who cannot get their medications in many states already, and those restrictions will surely tighten in months to come. I wonder about the women and trans men and non-binary womb-having people in many states already being denied access to reproductive health care, and those restrictions will surely tighten in the months to come. I wonder about the precious Jewish folks who are being targeted by anti-Semitism, even as they scream not in our names in solidarity with the precious Palestinian people of Gaza, and those attacks will surely grow in the months to come. And I wonder what our beloved, complicated, frightened nation is going to do about, well, anything and everything, and those answers will surely change in the months to come. And I wonder how it's all going to end. And I wonder who knows, maybe even though we didn't ask for any of this, I wonder if maybe we are here, right now for such a time as this. And if maybe our interdependence upon each other might be the thing that makes all the difference. It wasn't only Esther's courageous choice. It was a coalition of people who helped her to find her courage, to prepare and hone her gifts and walk boldly into that throne room. Esther was not empowered ever, not one time, by others in positions of power, but by others in intersecting positions of subjugation and oppression. And I know that this beloved community of believers has already done the work, a lot of the work, to be the change we want to see in the world. And you keep showing up and doing that. I know that. There was a time for us to rise with our LGBTQIA siblings and demand equality and law, and we did that, and here we are again. We have worked tirelessly for generations for the rights of women, for reproductive choice, and for a place of unequivocal equality at the table, and here we are again. We have risen in solidarity with our Muslim and our Jewish siblings and said we worship the same source and all love is one love, and here we are again. And so right here, right now, for a body of believers in love and in each other, who have tried for so long to get so many things right despite all odds, who knows, perhaps we were brought into the conversation for such a time as this. For a time when organizers for reproductive justice and trans rights might need a safe place to hold some meetings. For a time when reputable organizations need real, tangible support for endangered people, the kind of support with dollar signs attached to it. For such a time as this, when perhaps we, with our own intersections of privilege and oppression all bundled together not so neatly, we might be called on to be the messengers between the wall outside and the harem curtains. To open up our own WhatsApp or Signal channels for encrypted communications, for an underground network of safety and mutual aid. And maybe we don't get to be the ones leading the charge, but instead the ones heating up the bathwater for the one who's about to step out in front of the king and put it all on the line. The ones saying, here, use our worship space to organize for your rally. We'll provide snacks and water and art supplies for your signs. How else can we help? So what gifts, my friends, maybe even unlikely ones or ones you didn't choose at all, can you bring to such a time as this? Sometimes it's hard for me to know. I really just want to sit and weep and listen to someone who lives inside a Black, brown, queer, disabled immigrant body to get it up in the pulpit. Because I'm not sure sometimes what a cisgender US American white woman has to add to this fight. I had my vote and I used it. So did most of you. But for such a time as this, right here and right now, I still have my voice. I still have my promise to those who are in the fight, because your circumstances don't give you any choice in the matter, that you do not stand alone. We have this choice right now. We can say loud and clear that Palestinians are our human family. We can simultaneously say loud and clear no to the evil resurgence of anti-Semitism. We can let trans kids and all womb-having people know that they are whole and holy and have the right to bodily autonomy and are worthy of our fiercest protection. We can still say that Black Lives Matter and that Indigenous rights are the true law of the land we live on, and that immigration is natural and necessary and no human being is illegal. We can still resist and say not on our watch to the very real threat of fascism taking our democracy from us. Yeah. Who knows? There never was a mention of God or a calling or a sure victory or an outcome that would make it all seem worthwhile, but that's the story of life, and we live it anyway. If I perish, I perish. I mean, we all will eventually anyway, right? What about right now? What if it is your gift that changes the heart of someone in power? It could happen, and it wouldn't be a precedent. So may we all listen to the callings of our souls. May we truly live into those callings with whatever time we have left. May we be fully present right here, right now. May we live and love fiercely, like people with nothing left to lose, but oh, with every beautiful thing we can imagine together to gain. May it be so. May we be the ones who make it so. Ashe and amen. Thank you, friends. Would you join me, please, in the spirit of prayer, meditation, reflection, as is most meaningful to you? Take a deep breath with me as we focus on these words adapted from a prayer by Adam Slade. Spirit of life, love, hope, and justice. God of infinite names and beyond naming, you have given us a day unique from all the others. You've connected us, all of us, with each other and with the world in ways that are largely a mystery to us. You have given us precious little instruction other than to be present in our own lives, to feel wonder at the creations of the universe, and to love one another. You have put gifts and challenges in our paths, joys and sorrows, strengths and frailties, some of which we have already encountered and others we have yet to discover. On this unique day, may we receive exactly what it is we need and joyfully give what is ours to give. Ashe and amen.
We, excuse me, we continue our collective prayer by coming forward to engage in our weekly ritual that helps us to celebrate the challenges and joys of being human. As you light a candle, let it hold your hopes, memories, and gratitudes for this beautiful, complicated world and for our lives. And as you drop a stone in the sacred gathered waters, may it be your opportunity to imagine that your burdens and quests for forgiveness are held sacredly in this community. Please come forward. We're so grateful to be in a community where we can share our resources to live out our vision in the world. Our offering each Sunday is a testament to the vision of this community and our shared values. We will now receive the offering. Please rise in body or voice and facing the center aisle, sing together the offering song printed in your order of service. Your gift helps this church to work to make the world better in ways and smiles. Do we have any announcements this morning? No invitations. Well, we'll have our closing song. Number 118, This Little Light of Mine. Please rise and sing page 118. Great hymnal. As the service comes to an end, join me in saying the chalice extinguishing words found in your order of service. We extinguish this chalice, but not with warmth of love, the light of truth, or the energy of action.
Thank you all for letting me crash your party today. Our words of benediction are by my colleague, the Reverend Eileen Karpelis. As we part now from one another, let these be our thoughts. If that which is most holy lies within the human person, and if the greatest power in the world shines flickering and uncertain from each individual heart, then it is easy to see the value of human associations dedicated to nurturing that light. The couple, the family, the religious community. For the power of good in any one of us must at times waver. But when a group together is dedicated to nurturing the power of good, it is rare for the light to grow dim in all individuals at the same moment. So we borrow courage and wisdom from one another to warm us and keep us until we are together again. Blessed be.
Love guides your way. Moonlight, starlight, guide your journey into peace and the brightness of day. Oh, lifted up, love guides your way. Moonlight, starlight, guide your journey into peace and the brightness of day.
Yeah, I switched to alto on the second verse.
Thank you.